Okay, so right now I'm going to review Chapter 3, which is about free enterprise. Free enterprise has certain key characteristics. Among them are private property rights, competition, profit motive, voluntary exchange, and economic freedom. So some of those things that we definitely need to know about: profit motive. Profit motive is that people are motivated by making money. People go into business to make money. People get jobs to make money. That profit motive makes people want to produce. Going back to gross domestic product, GDP, why do people produce things? Because they want to make money. Why do people go to work? Because they want to make money. Why do people work hard to become better at their jobs? Because they want to make more money. So profit motive is an essential part of the free market system. Private property rights come into that. People want to, say, start a business. Well, they're not going to start a business if their ownership of the business is not respected by the government, if they don't have those rights. If you own a home, you're more likely to improve the home than if you're a renter. By owning the home, you have reason to invest in that home. So private property rights are an essential part of the whole system. Competition is there as well. That ties, of course, into profit motive. The reason people want to work hard and become better at their jobs or make a better product is to make more money. But they need to do that to make more money because of competition, because other people are also working hard and trying to make more money. All of this is voluntary exchange. People are choosing to participate in this. Nobody is being forced to open a business. Nobody is being forced to go to work. People are choosing to buy and sell. People are choosing to engage in this. And this is all part of economic freedom. Economic freedom being the last one. Economic freedom says that we freely choose, we freely engage, we can make something different, we can do a different job, whatever it is, we have economic freedom. So economic freedom is the last one of the 5 different parts of the free market system, free market enterprise that we're going to talk about there. So let me go ahead and erase this real quick. Okay, so now, what are some advantages and disadvantages of this system? So, an advantage is we can easily adapt to changes. Let's suppose consumer preferences for a product change. Well, then a company producing a product is going to realize their old product isn't selling, but some competitor is making a new product that is selling, so the old company is going to start making the new product or something to compete with it. We don't need a government agency to come in and tell them how to do that or that they need to make a new product. People will figure it out. That's that invisible hand coming into play. But they can quickly adapt. They can easily adapt to changing market conditions, changing supply and demand. This system, free market, is easily adaptable and quickly adaptable, whereas a planned economy is much slower, because where an owner of a business can realize pretty quickly things are not selling or are selling more quickly. The government's going to take a while to realize that. Then they've got to go through the whole process of government regulations or government planning or whatever, and then send word down to the factories. It's just a big old mess. So easily adaptable. Now, a disadvantage would be what we often call the wealth gap. Rich get richer, poor get poorer. In a system of freedom, when you give freedom, you're going to have some people take advantage of that freedom to do well, to work hard, to be successful, and some people just aren't going to take advantage of that freedom. You can think of group work, okay? When you have group work, groups generally get a lot of freedom in how they're going to do their job, and some groups work hard and crank it out and do a great job, and some groups just goof off and do nothing and end up with bad work. So the wealth gap is going to be much higher in a free market system than in a planned economy where the government says, oh, here's your job, here's what you're going to do, here's how much you're going to get paid, here's what the factory's going to produce, everybody's going to get this type of product. So wealth gap is going to be one of the disadvantages of a free market system. But Another disadvantage of the free market system is what we call supply side. Supply side tendencies. Supply side, dealing with the supply side of demand and supply, the producing. What's going to happen is companies are going to consolidate. So a successful company is going to buy its competitors. So you can think of like social media. Facebook buys competitors all the time. Google buys competitors. Google just bought Fitbit not too long ago because Google was making their own fitness tracker, so they bought Fitbit as a competitor. So supply side, what happens is these companies consolidate. Big companies take over smaller companies and become even bigger and powerful. And that generally works against consumers because it reduces competition, one of the essential parts of the free market system. So to balance that out, governments have come up with regulations, like we have what are called antitrust laws, anti-monopoly laws, and they restrict how big and powerful certain companies can get and go after those companies and split them up in order to increase competition. Now, a big advantage of this free market system is happy. Can't really get that to right now, but people are happy. People are voluntarily participating in the system. They're getting to choose what they want. They're getting to sell what they want. And in a free market system, that voluntary exchange, I go to the store, I buy something because I want that product more than I want my money. They're selling the product because they want my money more than they want the product. Both of us end up happy in the end. Nobody was forced to do it. Everybody's happy. So happiness is much higher in a free market system than in a planned economy where, again, the government comes in and tells you what you're going to get or what you're going to make. So happiness, enjoyment, that is a definite advantage of a free market system. So now I'm going to erase this. Okay, so another disadvantage of the free market system can be illustrated by the Great Recession. The Great Recession was an event that started in December of 2007 and went through 2009, and that was also called the housing crash. During the early 2000s, home prices went up like crazy. So people were buying homes, paying a whole bunch of money for the homes, often trying to rush into homes when they weren't really ready, but they wanted to get in before prices went even higher. Banks, because of deregulation, were giving home loans to people who really couldn't afford the home loans. All sorts of problems, but prices went way up. And then eventually, prices stopped going up. People realized they had gone up too high, and they started to go back down. So that leads to a crash. When that happens, often people will start panicking and selling because they want to sell before prices drop too high. That panic selling leads prices to drop even more, and you end up with a crash. This is one of the problems with a free market system, is because there is no central planning, sometimes things get out of control. People get excited, they jump into markets where they're not really thinking about it. Another good example of that would be like Bitcoin, where Bitcoin was crazy high at one point. Tesla stock has dropped a lot recently, and there's arguments about reasons for that, but Tesla was overvalued from the beginning. So people get excited, they want to get in on a market, housing, Tesla, Bitcoin, and they think it's going to keep going up forever, but eventually people realize this is stupid, this is overvalued, and they start trying to get out of the market, and it crashes. And this creates massive problems for the economy. During that housing crash, the Great Recession, lots of banks started having problems. People started getting fired from their jobs because of the market going down, and that then creates a downward cycle where a business starts losing money because people lost their jobs, so they fire more people. Those people don't have money now because they lost their jobs, so they stop buying things, so more businesses lose their money, so they lay off workers, and this leads to a downward cycle. And again, this lasted 2 years. So one of the problems in a free enterprise system is you end up with these booms and busts things get really high and then things get really low for a while, and it can be really disruptive. Right now, we are in a period where the economy has been kind of going down, not in a crash, but it's been going down for a while. If you look at the Dow Jones, the stock market, it hasn't been doing great for the last couple of years. So the Great Recession illustrates one of the problems of the free market system is these big unpredictable cycles of going up and down. So governments try to regulate that and try to, balance it a little bit. So they'll regulate banks to restrict that sort of loan that might lead to people who can't afford houses getting houses. They'll have all sorts of government regulations. Sometimes the stock market will even close down for a day. That's not a government regulation, but the stock market will get involved. Like not too long ago, there was the issue with Robinhood and the trading of GameStop, and Robinhood stopped selling and buying and selling stock of GameStop for a little while there. So sometimes different agencies will get in there, but especially the government, to try to regulate and stop this, or at least condense it a little bit so it's not as crazy as it could be. So now I'm going to go ahead and erase that again. So I just mentioned the government does do some regulation. That means the American government, the American economy is not completely free market. We are not completely invisible hand. There is some government planning and regulation in there. So technically, America is more of a mixed economy. So it's a mixed economy. It has a lot of aspects of free market, free enterprise, invisible hand, but there is some government intervention in the system. It's not a planned economy, but it's a mixed economy. In the system of the American government, or American economy, government has three roles. One of those roles is to be a protector. And one of those roles is to be a consumer. And one is to be a regulator. Oops. Regulator. The government protects people from fraud and theft. The government consumes, it buys things, and the government regulates. It creates rules for how trade is going to happen, and things like the Americans with Disabilities Act and civil rights regulations and things like that. So 3 roles of the government. Okay, so now I'll erase that. So the last thing I'm not going to go over really, but I'm going to tell you to take notes on it in the book. Make sure you understand inflation. Make sure you understand what's going on with inflation, and make sure you understand the 7 economic goals that Americans have for their economy. That's outlined in the book really well, so read through that, make sure you understand the 7 economic goals, and make sure you understand inflation. And good luck.